as it's brought down in the Sefer Mesil Shayim. This is the basis of the Sefer Mesil Shayim, the Ramchal, or Moshe Chaim Lasato's most famous work on on spiritual development and guidance.
Oh,
And
really?
it's really, yeah, it's based on this brisa of Rabbi Pinchas Ben Yair, which is, as we see it here, it's worked in the Gemara and the Avodah Zarah.
Wow. Maybe I should
Yeah,
read this.
yeah, go ahead.
The translator says the Mesilah Yesharim has been treasured for centuries as a priceless legacy of an inspired soul into the sons of his nation. Wow.
That's right.
Okay, so just to uh, quickly go through this, it says study leads to performance, performance leads to carefulness, carefulness leads to diligence, diligence leads to abstinence, abstinence leads to innocence, innocence leads to purity, purity leads to piety, and piety is the greatest of them all. And as it says in Tehillim, of old you spoke to your pious ones in a vision. Wow.
Right. So we see that these are this, and the Havos is bringing this brisa as a final proof for this Heshbon and Hanefesh, that when you do what you are able to do on any given level, and you sustain yourself on that level, then you'll be able to, with Siyata Dishmaya, move on to the next level through the help of a Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Ah,
As you see that this is a stepwise process, as is discussed in the Sefer Mesilas Yesharim, where he goes into each and every one of these areas in great detail. The Sefer Mesilas Yesharim is based on this brisa, and in general, each one of the categories is first explained as to what it is, number one, and how to achieve it, and how to avoid those things which will be detrimental in maintaining that level. And once a person's been successful in reaching one particular level, so then he's given the wherewithal, the siyata dishmaya, that he can go on to the next level and begin to progress on that level as well. Now,
wow.
there's a very big discussion that that this methodology of personal growth and development in the spiritual realm is usually done in this way as it is prescribed in a step ladder, stage by stage methodology. However, that's only possible to be done when the ability of people has been preserved in the perfect sense that they can learn each and every stage properly, and they're able to establish and maintain each individual stage in the proper way. But many say that Bisman Azeh, in our times, where we're in the midst of Golas, and we have many distractions, and we're not able to learn the whole beginning of everything is right. The Torah, Mevia de Maisa, right? The Torah, that's
Hmm.
what starts you off by doing things. So we first have to be able to learn Torah in the proper way to get this chain reaction going. If you don't have the learning of Torah done in the proper way, in the proper uh, way of understanding, in the proper way of putting sufficient time, in the proper way of being able to remember and integrate all the various different aspects of the Torah that a person's learning, if you don't have that ability, then the chain reaction doesn't start. So
Right.
many explained that in our time where we don't have the ability to get this chain reaction started, because even our very beginnings of learning of Torah are not being fulfilled in the proper way that will allow us to move safely and surely and securely from one level to the next. So therefore, the proper way to try and approach it is that there are many different points along the way in each one of these categories, which are very relevant, maybe not on a constant basis, meaning if things were ideal, then a person would be learning properly and that would start the chain reaction off correctly. So a person would establish himself on each one of these levels and plateau on each one of these levels and then move on to the next one and achieve that, reach the plateau, and move on to the next. But as I said, since even our learning is not as it should be and it's compromised to a great degree, so we don't have the ability to reach these proper understandings and reach these proper plateaus. So therefore, even though that we can't establish these things on a constant basis, nevertheless, there are many things which are relevant, even perhaps just on a had pami basis. I mean, just a person may not be on the level where he's able to do all these things constantly, but sometimes he may be able to reach it for a temporary uh, time and maybe perhaps in a temporary fashion. So that shouldn't stop him from doing it. Meaning anything that we can get in our time for any one of these levels, even though we haven't reached the plateaus of the earlier levels, we should still try and strive to achieve those levels, even if it's going to be temporary and it's not going to be lasting and permanent as it should be. The Rabbi Salanter um, brought a muscle to explain what we're dealing with here. When a person's sitting at home, let's say he's at it's Shabbos night. He came home from shul, right? He sang his songs. He made kiddush. He's having his food. He's having his suda. He's starting off with kiddush and the motzi, and he's going to have some fruit cocktail, and he's going to have some fish, and he's going to have some soup, the main course, and then this and that, continuing on through dessert and some cake and refreshments. So he has a whole way. That's the way you serve the meal, right? You serve the appetizers first, and then comes the fish, and then comes the soup, and then comes the main course. That's the way you eat a meal, right? But let's say a person, he doesn't have the luxury of being at home. Let's say he's a poor person and he has no home. So he, every Shabbos night, he wanders from one house to the next. Right? He
Uh,
goes down the block, wandering from one house to the next, knocks on the door, and so people invite him in. They know he's a poor person. He has no food or anything on his own, so they invite him in. So what does he do? He comes to them, and let's say they're in the middle of the fish, right? So since they're serving the fish, now he has to sit down and start eating the fish. And he gets up after that, and he goes to the next house, and he goes to them, and they're in by holding a dessert. So he goes to them, and he starts eating dessert, right? So that's like our situation in our time. When a person we had, this is very relevant to the 3 weeks, to the 9 days, to Tisha B'av. When we had the base of Mikdash, and we have the Kohanim doing the vote in the base of Mikdash, and we had Yerushalayim, it was built, and we had Klal Yisrael living in Eretz Yisrael. So people were established, and we were like our own homeowners. We're like enjoying our Shabbos meals Friday night in our own homes. We have a way and an ability to serve ourselves properly the way a meal should be served. Likewise, when we had the base of Mikdash and the abode in the base of Mikdash and Yerushalayim and Eretz Yisrael the way it should be, so we had the ability to learn Torah properly and therefore reach each and every one of these spiritual components in our spiritual growth. We could reach and sustain ourselves on each one and move on to the next after we plateaued on each and every one of them. But now that we're in Golis and we don't have the ability and the opportunity to learn Torah properly, right? And we have too many other distractions that the Golos is causing us to be preoccupied with, and we don't have, therefore, the ability, as I said, to learn Torah properly. And therefore, we can't really get started, and the chain reaction doesn't even get started. So then what can we do? So we're like the poor person wandering from one house to the next, Shabbos night, and wherever he goes, wherever he winds up, whatever door he knocks on, so whatever they're serving, that's what he sits down and eats. So likewise, we're also in Golos, we're wandering from one house to the next, from one land to the next, right? From one situation to the next. So all we can do is hope and pray that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to do things as we can possibly do, even if it's not our true level of learning, because we don't have the solid learning which was once in existence at the time when the Beis Hamikdash and we were living in Eretz Israel properly. So all we can hope and do is to try and grab whatever we can possibly grab and make do with that. So that's our situation, and that's how Rabbi Yisrael Salanter explains our situation based on our situation here in Golis. Okay, so that brings us to to the to the next level, the next Heshbon Nefesh. This was Heshbon Nefesh 21. Okay, so I'll be preparing the next document with the next few Heshbon Nefesh is 22, 23, and I'll be send that out hopefully later today. All right. Thank you for the reading, Mayor. And okay, we'll take a break.